Counterpunch boxing news. Counterpunch boxing news.
Like he said.
Counterpunch boxing news.
Like he said.
Counterpunch boxing news.
Like he said.
Counterpunch boxing. Counterpunch boxing news. Top of the morning, fight fans. This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Terence Crawford, Canelo Alverez. Get this. Terence Crawford rediscovers a video, an interview by Canelo Alverez exposing the idea of how he cannot go down to 160. And let's take a look. Terence said, LOL, what's y'all thoughts on at Canelo saying he can make a fight with Spence at 160, but for me, he says that he cannot make the weight. Wouldn't make a difference, just a thought, with the laughing emoji, okay? And here's the interview.
Spence, 120,000 people in AT&T Stadium. Is that a fight that you're interested in?
No, pues obviamente es una pelea interesante. Errol Spence es un gran peleador. Obviamente si quiere subir de peso, pues, ¿por qué no se podría hacer esa pelea? Si se siente muy seguro de eso, pues podría pasar. Es una pelea grande.
Well, obviously, it's a very interesting fight. If Errol Spence is a great fighter, and obviously if he wants to go up in weight, then that would be a big fight.
No, en peso medio todavía podemos hacerlo y claro que sí, podríamos pelear en la 160.
Middleweight, yeah, that's something that we can still do. So yes, we could go down to 160.
So, as you heard Canelo say that he is willing to go down to 160 to make a fight with Errol Spence. Understand something, though. This was a couple years ago, okay? This wasn't last week, a month ago, a couple months ago. This was a couple years ago, if not 3 years ago. And I want people to understand that, you know, this was before Canelo Alvarez also went to 175, fought Kovalev, and then got defeated by the WBA champion, lightweight champion, Dmitry Bivol. Okay, so that's something that you have to take into play. Now, it's somewhat supporting, but it's outdated. Because it's outdated simply because Canelo Alvarez is not and no longer interested in going to 160. You know, that's just like Canelo saying, well, hey, well, look what you did, Terence. Before you fought Errol Spence, you were saying that 168 was too big until you beat the quote-unquote weight bully, Errol Spence. Now you want to take on Canelo Alvarez at 168, or the winner between Alvarez and Jermell Charlo. You know, and you could argue, you know, that he was consistent with that. But, you know, he did say he didn't want to go to 168. And he said Canelo's, you know, that's too big. He did say that. You know, everybody's entitled to change their mind, but he did say that. Just like Canelo a couple years ago or more said that, hey, I can go to 160 to fight Errol Spence. And something else to take into consideration with Errol Spence. Errol Spence has the potential to move up. I think he's just naturally a bigger guy. You know, that happened to a lot of fighters that decided, hey, I need to move up in weight. Vinny Pazienza, you know, in question, he fought at 140 and then found out with a couple extra pounds, 20, he could be one dynamite, devastating middleweight because his body wasn't really designed for a 140-pounder. Okay, so maybe Errol Spence may, you know, grow into that. And Errol Spence has been talking up Canelo and guys like Golovkin for a very long time. And that was when he was very much welterweight and not considering moving to 154. And you didn't even hear such a say. But Terence Crawford, Canelo Alvarez, I will say this in the defense of both, okay? Canelo Alvarez was thinking about that Errol Spence fight because of money, because he was the guy that was labeled or targeted the star of Al Haymon, okay? This is before Gervonta Tank Davis got to where he's at, okay? There was Errol Spence. Okay, before that was Keith Thurman. You know what I mean? So, yes, he would have took that fight simply because he knew that would have been a big matchup, especially looking at Errol Spence and Mikey Garcia. That was a huge turn-up and a very successful fight. And Canelo knows business because also he's a businessman as well as a boxer. Okay? Whereas Terence Crawford has picked away, chipped away, beat everyone that he had to really beat to get to where he finally got able to get the opportunity to fight someone like Errol Spence that is regarded as one of the guys that was more marketable. Okay, so all that being said, taking skill aside, the business side of Canelo Alverez was also ticking when he was talking about Errol Spence. Okay, so I think that's an invalid statement at this point, but it does make you wonder. You know, him saying, well, I won't get credit for beating Terence Crawford, like Terence Crawford won't get credit for beating Gervonta Tank Davis. And I'm thinking, okay, well, you didn't deserve any credit for knocking out Amir Khan. Or starching down a Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., which, you know, it's Julio Jr., you know what I mean? He really was kind of a, you know, hype job after Sergio Martinez outboxed him for 12 rounds. And, you know, he was finally able to land and drop him. But, you know, Sergio, being who he was able to survive and win a lopsided decision. Okay, so, but I still think Canelo would have beat him anyway. But it just shows you the anticipation of a fight that should be. And I think if you're going to beat small guys, Canelo, I think, you know, I wouldn't have a problem fighting Terence Crawford and get him out of the way and shut him up. Because I think fighting Terence Crawford, you know, you would be favored to beat him over someone now like David Benavidez. You know, just food for thought. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think of Terence Crawford asking the public, why does Canelo consider fighting Errol Spence at a catchweight at 160, but not himself? Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace!